Welcome to today's show here on JTV. David Rice, appreciate you watching on TV, online, listening on the pod. Our show today brought to you by the Insurance Circle Agency. Thanks to them for the new set decor. Appreciate it. MyInsuranceCircle.com. I'm David. That's Adam. Hi, Adam.
Hey, man. Good first week of NFL.
I know. College, week 2 of high school, NFL. We have a loaded show, so let's get into it right away. Week 2 of high school football happened this last weekend. Let's start out Manchester and Addison. Former head coach Josh Lindemann, now with the Manchester Flying Dutchman, faced his old school and the Addison Panthers. That was the grittiest, fastest wing T offense for both games. Manchester scored 14 in the fourth quarter to pull away and win 20-8 in a low-scoring battle in a Cascades East-West matchup. They start 2-0 for the third straight year. This game we had live on JTV Friday night from Withington. The Vikings got a big win, non-conference over Lansing Waverly, 41-12. Our Tri-County Water player of the game, Blair Pippin, for the Jackson High Vikings. We'll see a couple of his plays and our top plays coming up in a few minutes. Jackson's 2-0 for the first time since 2019, and they will play the Tecumseh Indians next week. Tecumseh got a big Week 1 win over another local team, the Northwest Mounties, 47-7. Quick takeaway from me in this game. Didn't look good that first possession for Jay High. Waverly went down right away, scored, made it 6-0, and from that point, I'm like, this wasn't what we planned at all. We're kind of in a panic here. And then the pick six happens, and everything really turned around after that point for Jackson High.
For sure. And I really thought after that point, definitely in the second half, Jackson played really well, especially defensively. They played great. They had some huge plays defensively that really shaped how that game went.
We'll have a couple defensive plays coming up in our top plays from Pataki Orthodontics, but Waverly scored the first points, but the Vikings responded with the next 5 scores in the home non-conference victory. Blair Pippin, Charles Johnson, Bryson Estali scored twice, and Kenyon Dunklin all scored for the Vikings. Kyron Stamper, quarterback, threw for 2 scores and ran for 59 yards. The Vikings caused 5 turnovers on defense in the contest against Waverly. Jackson hosts Tecumseh in a key SEC White game next Friday. You can watch full game highlights from that online at jtv.tv. Another game we had highlights for. You can watch those on our social media on JTV and JTV Sports on Facebook. Napoleon got a big win. The Pirates scored 14 in the fourth quarter, came back and beat Cascades West opponent Jonesville. They're a West contender, so this was a big comeback win for a young Napoleon team, 24-22. Napoleon had the football on offense nearly the entire fourth quarter. They scored 2 touchdowns and got 2 onside kicks to secure the 24-22 victory. Northwest dropped to 0-2. They lost Adrian Madison. Now Adrian Madison has played 2 local Jackson teams back-to-back weeks. They beat Columbia Central, and now they beat Northwest. Madison is now 2-0. This one was a big shocker. Pontiac Notre Dame Prep scored 21 points in the fourth quarter to rally and defeat Lumen Christi. The last time Lumen lost this early in the season was 2022. They started off 0-3, and we were there on JTB for 2 of the games, Traverse City, St. Francis, and Hastings that year. But Lumen still went on to, of course, run the table and win a state championship. This was the biggest shock out of all the games. Notre Dame Prep, 28. Lumen Christi, 24. Hanover Horton beat Michigan Center by 1, 21-20. What a game that was. Josh Burgett talked about it on the Aspen 1 Hour Football Show. Before the game, coming into it, Hanover had beaten Michigan Center 3 of the last 4 years. Hanover Horton has now defeated Center 4 of the last 5, and Hanover, for the first time since 2014, is 2-0 to start the year. They started 4-0 that year. We have photos from that game online at jtv.tv. Highlights are also online at jtv.tv. For this game, Grass Lake had a big win over Columbia Central, 47-20. Quarterback Braden Lape had 304 yards and 4 touchdowns. Senior receiver, we talked to him at Media Days, Bryant Cook, had 2 touchdowns for the Warriors as well. Grass Lake 2-0 for the second straight year. They started 4-0 last year, and they play another red-hot team. Grass Lake going to Hanover this Friday. That should be a big game. The Warriors and the Comets. We had a post-game interview with quarterback Braden Lape for the Grass Lake Warriors. Let's take a look.
We really got the offense started fast. I think that was our goal going into this game, is get the passing game going. And obviously we got it going. We got our guys. I mean, honestly, all of our wide receivers, all of our line, all of our running backs were all in it. And you know what? When everybody's in it, it opens up things. You know, when we got enough guys where we can pound that ball and then go back to the pass. You know, I think that was the success tonight. I mean, last week I was a little upset with my performance. I threw a pick early in that game and never really, capitalized on the rest. So I think it was good getting back into it this game. I mean, obviously we scored 47 in that first half, and that was the difference tonight, and that felt good. Getting back on track and getting back throwing to these guys, it's been great. Oh, dude, my teammates are awesome. I mean, not only the skills players, not only the running backs, wide receivers, but those O linemen up front. I think we were all on the same page, and we really just got it done. Can't say enough about my teammates, because without them, I couldn't throw the ball or open up the pass with the running backs. It feels good to start the season going 2-0, and going into Hanover, we know we gotta still continue to clean things up. Even though we were pretty good tonight, we still got things to clean up. So cleaning those things up, really looking in film and trying to get better for that team. That will be our goal this week, and it's a big one. To start 3-0, that's a big game. So we're excited for it.
Thanks a lot to JTV's Matt Kibbe for covering the Napoleon highlights and for getting a soundbite from Braden Lape after the game. Braden Lape bringing those numbers up, man. Anytime we get Braden Lape
For
on.
sure.
4 touchdowns. Grass Lake wins 27-20. You can watch full highlights at jtv.tv. Western will have live on Friday this coming weekend here on JTV as they play Marshall. But Western went all the way up to Traverse City Central, scored 16 in the fourth quarter, and got a big 30-20 win against TC Central to improve to 2-0. Stockbridge fell to Union City as expected, 33-20. Springport is 2-0 for the first time since 2019. Great for the Spartans football program, 34-6 over Maple Valley. Hillsdale dropped to Lake Fenton 32-6. Leslie over Homer 55-6. Leslie 2-0 for the second straight year. Quarterback Joel Cranmore 6 touchdowns and 381 yards. A big night on the scoreboard for a contender, definitely a dark horse in the Cascades Eats. Coach Tim McCann and the Leslie Blackhawks. And another big one, the first Cascades win since October 5th, 2018 for the Jayhawks of Vandercook Lake. They are 1-1, 43-20 over the East Jackson Trojans. Adam, any nuggets pointed out for you from any of the games Friday? Of course, big win for Vandercook, but any other nuggets there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like what you just said, big win for Vandercook. That was super cool. When we heard that they won, that was super cool. And, man, Leslie just dominating on Homer. And that quarterback, Cranmore, what a performance. Six touchdowns, 380 yards. That is just incredible. And to go back to the Lumen Christi game, because I think that's kind of the one that's on, at least in this area of the state, that's on everybody's mind. Like you said, they've gone 0-3 before and have won it all. And that wasn't that long ago. So I think they definitely have a shot. Think of all those years that the Patriots were looking like not being a good team, and then they get into the playoffs and they can't be stopped. I think it's the same thing. Nothing to worry about, and I think it's one of those losses that they'll think about.
No, I'm not concerned yet.
No, but I think it'll be one of those losses that they'll think about and they'll use as fuel for the rest of the season.
For sure. And Napoleon got a big win, too. Coming into the season, they lost week 1 to a Onstead team who also has struggled in the past handful of years. That's a big win for them. They have a mix of an experienced line coming back, but they have new skill players at receiver, and they have a new starting quarterback and a new starting running back. And to play against a team in Jonesville who has all experience coming back, scoring 14 in the fourth and getting 2 onside kicks to win the game was big for them. So shout out to Napoleon too. And the Cascades East is tightening up already because Napoleon is 1-1 now. Grass Lake is 2-0. Leslie's 2-0. Michigan Center is 1-1, and Manchester is 2-0. So right now, Manchester, Grass Lake, and Leslie are the 3 teams 2-0 in the East, and then Michigan Center, Napoleon, and then East Jackson 0-2. So as we expected, the East is already going to be tight, and it's open this year as far as who's going to be contending for it. And same thing with the West. Addison is 1-1 now. Homer's 0-2, but Hanover's leading the way. They're 2-0. Jonesville's 1-1. So right now there's no runaway favorite yet, and we won't know till after week 4. We're halfway through the year. Then we also start looking at playoff points. Okay, what local teams are in the top 32 right now based on points. So I think it's going to be interesting when you start to get to week 5 or 6, what's going to come down to it. And we've got some really big games coming up later in the year on JTV that will be key in the Cascades Lake when Grass Lake plays at Napoleon in a few weeks. That's going to be a big matchup for both teams, and I'm looking forward to actually watching Grass Lake here on JTV coming up. So we've got a big show coming up. Texas hustled Michigan. We were there at the big house.
That was rough, man. That was rough.
So we'll talk about that coming up, whether we want to or not. We've got our top plays coming up, brought to you by Pataki Orthodontics. Our top 5 from the Vikings win on Friday nights. Almost a ton of upsets. Notre Dame lost, but number 7 barely won, number 14 barely won, number 15 barely won, number 16 barely won, number 17 barely won. Number 19, Kansas, lost to unranked Illinois. Number 21 lost. Number 23 lost. And number 8 barely won. So we have a lot to cover in the college football world for week 2. The Lions won big in overtime last night. We'll have that coming up. Big sigh here for the cheese. The Packers.
I was with you when that news broke. We were at the Jimmy John's in Chelsea when that broke.
Of course, all of our unfortunate events happen at the Jimmy.
How does that happen?
Jimmy John's in Chelsea. Last year they had no bread.
How does that happen?
And now Jordan Love gets hurt. So
man.
Oh, and Tyreek Hill also got detained. So we've got more on that coming up. We'll also be live from Western Friday, and we've got more high school sports updates coming up. Oh, and the Detroit Tigers, 3.5 games back of the wild card. So that's a lot to coming up. When we come back, Pataki Orthodontics, our top 5 plays of the week. Stay with us. Welcome back here on JTV, brought to you by the Insurance Circle Agency. I'm David Rice. Let's get into our top 5 plays of the week, presented by Pataki Orthodontics. Thank you to them for helping us bring you today's show and our top plays. Of course, also a big sponsor in our live sports broadcasts here on JTV. So thank you to them. 3 locations: Grass Lake, Coldwater, and Hillsdale. All right, let's get right into it. At number 5, third quarter, 7:08 to play. Jackson High defense, after that pick 6 happened, their defense and both offense took over the game. The Vikings defense recovers a fumble, just ripped it right out of the hands. So a big play there for the Vikings at number 5. At number 4, again in the third quarter, early on in the second half, at the 9:44 mark, number 4, player number 4, quarterback Kyron Stamper for the Vikings, able to stay on his feet. He looked like he was going to get sacked, and he's able to recover, get around to the outside, and get a big gain and keep it himself in a quarterback run. At number 3, right before the end of the half, at quarter number 2, back-to-back sacks, really a bonus play to show you here. Back-to-back sacks by our Tri-County Water player of the game, number 21 for the Jackson High Vikings, Blair Pippen, including both of them you just saw there. So great plays there to end the half and start to pull away with it for the Jackson Vikings. Keep it going with Blair Pippen, number 21, our number 2 play of the week. Quarter 2 at the 9:43 mark, a touchdown by Blair Pippen. And that's really what helped propel Jackson right after that pick 6 to start to pull away and solidify that this was their game. Blair Pippen getting 3 plays in our top 5. And at number 1, of course, a unanimous vote here. It was also our Bailey Excavating play of the game on the live broadcast right before the half, a minute 30 to play in the second quarter. Jaden Potter, number 1, pick 6 for the Jackson High Vikings. That's a look at our top 5 plays of the week presented by Pataki Orthodontics. Again, thanks to them. 3 locations, one in Grass Lake, one in Coldwater, and one in Hillsdale. Also, thanks to them for sponsoring live high school football here on JTV Sports. If you ever want to go back, if you missed this, if you're just tuning in, you can always go back and watch the top 5 plays, the clip online, and also on our Facebook, too, and social media. Still got a lot to get to on today's show. When we come back, Texas hustling Michigan at the Big House on Saturday. That's coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back here on JTV. I'm David Rice, brought to you by the Insurance Circle Agency. 269-200-2905, myinsuranceCircle.com. College football, Texas, let's just get it out of the way now. Quick here. Texas dominated Michigan 31-12 as hey, NBA Rewind is joining me on the set.
Oh,
here.
no.
Just
It
decided
hurt.
to join us. But anyways, Texas defeated Michigan 31-12. Michigan looked really ugly, and now we know, though, where Michigan stands as far as compared to last year against these big opponents. We know where Michigan's at. That's fair to say clearly.
Yeah, it didn't look. It looked ugly. It was an ugly game. There were, I gotta say, just being there, there's a lot of Texas fans there. I was surprised.
There were, where me and Noah were sitting.
Yeah.
That's the visiting marching band is always behind us up there.
Oh, now
and
I
that's
know
where
where
the
you're at,
visiting
yeah.
fans. We're right diagonal from you guys, right on the other side.
Oh, I know.
And although
okay.
most of the visiting fans and the Texas band was right behind us, so every other play, it's just the band, and I really was aggravated to say the least. So
I bet.
Michigan, though, does play a weaker team, Arkansas State, Saturday, another noon game. I go to all the games, but that's tough, man. Noon.
I mean, especially with that Texas game. I mean, there were so many people there. There were so many.
But there's going to be no Arkansas State fans.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Maybe a few. But actually, when Hawaii came here a few years ago, there were a lot of Hawaii fans. that
Hawaii
came to
travels well,
Michigan.
huh? Interesting.
Hawaii, the Rainbow Warriors actually travel where? I think that's their team name.
I think so. At least it used to be.
Rainbow something.
They might have dropped the rainbow, I remember, and I think they are just Warriors now because they don't have rainbow in their color scheme anymore. They used to, though.
They never have.
And it was the sickest
I don't think they
jersey.
ever have, though.
They did. Oh, I'm gonna put it up on the screen right now.
They did.
You'll see
Wow.
during.
Okay.
They did, and it was me and Joey were talking about it. It's one of my favorite unis.
Moving on from Michigan because I don't want to talk about them anymore. Notre Dame got a 62-yard field goal blocked on the final play, and this is a joke. They lost to Northern Illinois. By the way, the new AP poll just came out before the show started. Northern Illinois is now ranked number 25.
Oh, that is awesome. That is so cool.
Michigan dropped from 10 to number 17.
I think that's an okay. They're looking at strength of opponent, so I think that helps.
And after Arkansas State, we have another heavyweight, USC.
Yeah.
And then Oregon.
Right after, or is that just like
Right after.
Oh wow, that's a hard couple games.
Michigan may start 2-3. That's what I mean. When's the last time Michigan had 3 losses? The first year of Harbaugh,
Yeah, it's been a while ago.
and that's it. Speaking of all the upsets that almost happened earlier, quickly go through this here. Number 7, Oregon sneaks by unranked Boise State 37-34. I watched the end of that game on Peacock. That was atrocious to watch. Even though it was a high-scoring game, Oregon should have won by a lot more playing on the blue field. Now Oregon started out 2-0, but they've beaten unranked Idaho by a touchdown and now unranked Boise State by 3. And Michigan plays them in 2 weeks. So because of that, can Michigan actually compete with them now, do you think?
I think the game is going to be close. It's going to be a lot closer than Texas. But also last week on this show, I was the one that said Michigan will beat Texas by 2 touchdowns. So I don't know if you should listen to my Michigan takes right now.
I don't know if I would listen to anybody's betting here based on that. Number 14, Tennessee beat the living you-know-what out of number 24, NC State, on national TV, 51-10. Number 15, Oklahoma barely beat unranked Houston, 16-12. I watched the end of that game. Because I hate commercials just as a fan. I know as a TV person that we love them, but as a fan, we have like 10 different channels. I just scroll through all of them because I don't like watching the commercials.
I feel like you got to do that. Like that's why Red Zone does so well for the NFL.
Yep. Number 16, Oklahoma State barely beat unranked Arkansas 39-31. Number 17, Kansas State barely beat Tulane 34-27. A lot of people are talking about Tulane.
I think Tulane's going to be a good team this year.
They have to beat one of these ranked teams, though.
Yeah, that's true.
They should have won this game.
It's close.
Unranked Illinois, Big Ten, beat number 19 Kansas 23-17. I think it's the first time, as far back as I can remember, Kansas actually had a decent football team. They've always been a basketball school. Iowa State won their rivalry, unranked Cyclones 20-19 over number 21 Iowa. Iowa, again, they suck on offense, but somehow they always end up being in the Big Ten championship and ranked in the top 25. I don't know if the committee has a thing for Iowa. I don't know. Syracuse beat number 23 Georgia Tech 31-28, and this was a big one. Number 8 Penn State almost barely beat Bowling Green. Bowling Green. I mean, 34-27. Out of all these games, which one surprised you the most? Other than Michigan, of course, but looking at all the other games, which one surprised you the most?
It's funny. Tennessee beating NC State that bad is pretty surprising. I didn't think it was going to be that bad, but Oregon barely beating Boise State is pretty crazy to me because I think a lot of people going into the season had them as national champion favorites. Definitely like probably the next choice other than Georgia. So very surprising to see that. They need to get it together, especially after their last week as well.
And now I think the two leading candidates to win the title, as of right now, Georgia and Texas.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put Ohio State there yet, just because they haven't played tough opponents yet, like Michigan and Texas have. Ohio State beat Western Michigan 189-0 over the weekend. And it was 56-0 in Columbus.
Oh.
And they beat Akron the first week. Like they haven't played anybody.
Yeah.
And Ohio State, the third team looking in. By the way, Michigan State looked pretty good against Maryland.
Yeah.
I know it was somewhat of a close game, but their quarterback, Aiden Childs, look, there's a lot of positive with him. Now, he's still a true freshman. He's 18 years old. There's still going to be some growing pains. And I was talking to Brandon about it earlier, and I thought he played okay, though, for, his first key Big Ten game. Michigan State 2-0. They're already doing better than Michigan. How about that? Unbelievable. Switching gears here to the NFL, the Lions, Week 1 overtime win, 26-20. Barely got away with a win over the Rams. The Lions were up 17-3. They go to overtime 20-20, and the Lions sneak away with a win. The Lions didn't play as good as I expected them. That's my key takeaway. Cooper Kupp had a day, especially in that second half with Puka Nacua being out for the Rams. I didn't watch the part of the game where he got hurt. I don't know what happened.
It was really odd. So it was a play where Stafford was sacked, and then Stafford was hurt his ankle on the play. So everybody focused on him, and then it turned out that he was fine. He got taped up. He was in the next play, but Nacua came back in, and he had a problem with his ankle too, came back in, and then I think at halftime just never came back out. So
Because he never even played one snap in the second half.
We lucked into that because I think if he would have played a lot of those plays that were really close to Cooper Kupp, tight coverage, he probably would have found somebody else somewhere else. And Nakua is so good. He's a one anywhere else. So, them missing him was a big impact.
And you know what? I think another reason why this game shouldn't have been as close, the Lions should have won by a lot more. Even Dan Campbell talked about it coming out of the locker room in the second half. Penalties. Big penalties. You had 2 pass interferences late in the fourth quarter before overtime. It's just mental mistakes like that, and that's what gave the Rams so many more opportunities.
Yeah, and I mean, the saving grace, though, was overtime. Montgomery, unbelievable. Having somebody like that where, having a running back that's that good, and you don't have to worry about we've already ran it with him like almost 30 times in this game. It's like, no, Montgomery was fresh and showed it, and our offensive line is just so incredible.
This one's going to hurt to talk about.
Yeah, oh man, get it out now.
We're 0-1. Packers. It was a good game, though, at 34-29 against the Eagles.
It was a good game.
It's not like we got stomped by them. Jordan Love got hurt, but it came down to a Hail Mary on the last play against a good Eagles team. We knew Saquon was going to have a big game, and he did. He scored 3 touchdowns. Everything I expected to happen happened. It was going to be a high-scoring, close game. Jaden Reed, I had him on my bench. Screwed me over in fantasy.
I think everybody had Jaden Reed on their bench.
Well, because I had Pacheco and Zay Flowers and Stephon Diggs.
Well, you got to start that. Diggs had a great game, though, so you got to be happy with what Diggs did.
I have Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, so
I felt like I didn't need to start Jaden Reed.
For sure.
And then he gets 33 fantasy points.
But that's fantasy for you.
And Mostert, I thought he was going to get more carries. No, A-Chain's still getting all the carries. I got 5 points from Mostert.
Yeah, that might be a good player to keep on your roster for later in the year.
I was told by somebody that I should drop Mostert, and I was looking at available running backs who are free agents in our league. He did okay yesterday because Kenneth Walker got hurt and he didn't get all the carries. Zach Charbonnet from Michigan for the Seahawks. He had 12 fantasy points.
No kidding.
If I would have just got those 7 more points from Charbonnet yesterday, if I already had him, I would have won my matchup.
Who are you facing?
Joe.
Oh, shout out to Joe. Week 1
He had
win.
the Bears defense who had 26 points.
Well, to talk about, I do want to hear your opinion real quick on Caleb Williams and his performance. That
First game was trash.
That game looked really rough. He had a rough time.
Will Levis played even worse, by the way.
Yeah, they both did not play well. It was a very sloppy game, but yeah, I mean, I am interested to see how Caleb Williams progresses these next few games. I think he has a difficult game. I can't remember, but I remember seeing the next matchup was a little more difficult.
They play the Texans on Sunday Night Football.
See, that's a tough game. That's a tough game in the lights, and
I'll take the Texans in that game. I know we do our picks on Wednesday, but circle me in now for the Texans Sunday night. A lot of close games actually across the league. That's what I love about Red Zone is they got the quad box.
It is awesome.
And Scott Hansen. Here's what's happening here. First down here. Touchdown here.
Hansen did great week 1.
Justin Fields, Russell Wilson got hurt with a calf injury before the game in the week, so Justin Fields ended up starting and beat Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. The Pittsburgh Steelers scored no touchdowns. Chris Boswell had 6 field goals, and the Steelers beat the Falcons. Miami won on a field goal on the last play against Trevor Lawrence and the Jags.
And they were down a lot early as well. They were down a lot. That bomb to Tyreek Hill that went 70 yards changed the game for them for sure.
We'll get to Tyreek in a minute. I'm glad you brought him up.
Of course we will.
We've got a picture for that, too. Houston won late against Anthony Richardson, who looked really good, by the way. I really liked what I saw with Richardson.
And that was a fantastic game. That was super fun.
Because we didn't get to see enough of him last year with the shoulder injury.
That's right.
He only played 4 games. And upset, Coach Mayo and the Patriots. This one I was like, ooh, this wasn't supposed to happen.
I couldn't believe it.
Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, who actually played. New England going to Cincinnati, starting 1-0. I got to tip my cap to the Patriots.
I think a lot of people going into the season, I was reading a lot of articles right before the week one started, and a lot of people were thinking they were going to be the worst team this year.
Like
I
they
know
were
the
going to get,
Panthers
besides
exist,
the
but-
Panthers, they were going to get 3 or 4 wins. The season's a wash. We'll get another decent draft pick.
Yeah, I was very surprised. And, a little side thing, because we brought up the Panthers, I just want to mention, I know it's not on here, but the Panthers played horrible. I
didn't expect anything else from them.
Yeah, but I feel like they would have at least put up a few more points. I mean, they just couldn't move the ball. They couldn't do anything. It's just, I think
I didn't expect anything different.
They're going to be the worst team again.
Jacoby Brissett got hurt for the Patriots during the game, but he stayed in. We did not see Drake May. Brissett finished it out, had a big quarterback keeper run at the end of the game, and they were able to hold off Cincinnati. So shout out to Coach Mayo, though. Mayonnaise 1-0 with the New England
Good luck trying to get that to stick.
Can we make that a drop? Mayonnaise. Tyreek Hill, speaking of him, he made big headlines on and off the field Sunday morning on his way to the stadium, literally a block away in the picture you see on the top of the screen there. You can see the stadium in the background behind the trees. He's literally that close to the stadium. Tyreek Hill was detained by police Sunday morning on his way into the stadium. Videos on social media showed Hill in handcuffs with several police officers around him. I saw the video as well. The Miami Dolphins put out a statement before the game. This morning, wide receiver Tyreek Hill was pulled over for a traffic incident about 1 block from the stadium and briefly detained by Miami-Dade police. He has since been released. Several teammates saw the incident and stopped to offer support. Tyreek and all other players involved have safely arrived to the stadium and will be available for today's game. He was asked about it in the press conference after, and he pretty much said, that would like to cooperate with them. I apologize for everything that happened. But he made a good point. He's like, what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, and I remember that was one of the first things I thought was just like it could have been anybody else. But that because it is Tyreek Hill, I'm just surprised that cops that were in the Miami area that were covering that area that close to the stadium did not know who one of the best receivers of all time is. It was just kind of surprising that they didn't know who Tyreek Hill was.
He was going to drive with the window down. You can see him driving by with the window down in a Corvette. You had to have known. Maybe not. You had to have known it was a player, just a player.
Yeah, but that being said, too, if stuff happened that maybe wasn't, who know? I'd be curious to know exactly what happened. And still today, I mean, that happened yesterday. Still today, we don't have 100% of the information, so I think we might hear about a little bit more as the coming days go on. But
during the break, I'll have to say I don't remember exactly. I don't want to give out wrong info about it, but Mike Florio on NBC Halftime said something about something happened after that with one of the officers who put him on the ground.
I do know that. I think one of them. I remember hearing the report that one of them is like on desk duty or something like that. I think that's
he's not in patrol anymore.
Not right now.
I think that's what it was. We'll have to get more info on it during the break. But when we come back, we do have a lot of high school sports, other sports to get you updated on that happened. A lot of Saturday sports happened in high school. Plus, Tigers, they're right there, man. 3.5 games back. We're brought to you by the Insurance Circle Agency, and we'll be back after this. Welcome back here on JTV. I'm David Rice. That's Adam. Our show today brought to you by the Insurance Circle Agency. Thanks to them for the... Oh, I almost touched my mic. Thanks to them for the hats and the decor. Appreciate it. Tigers, 3.5 games back. I think I had more faith than Adam did, maybe even a week ago.
Okay, not a week ago, but like
2 weeks ago.
Like a few
Times
months
have
ago.
changed now. Times have changed.
Sure.
They're 3.5 games back. They're 73 and 71. Even Johnny Kane posted yesterday. I'm just saying. They're right there.
They are.
We are back. They are right there. And we play a really terrible team starting tomorrow, Tuesday through Thursday, the Rockies. I kind of wrote out my math was incorrect at first. My first record prediction added up to 165 games. I don't know
How did that
I messed
happen?
that up. Hey, it's my education, man. Just saying. But my final record prediction, before I break it down by series, and I want to get your thoughts on this too, but I have Tigers finishing 84 and 78. Right now they're 73 and 71. So I think they will go. So that's 11 and 7 the rest of the way, which is just over 500. They probably need to do better, but realistically speaking, I think that's how it'll end up because we still have 6 games against the Orioles, 3 there, 3 here, and 3 at Kansas City.
Yeah, and if you're looking at the schedule right now, you kind of see that we have that easy series with the Rockies. We got to take some
And the
from
White
Baltimore.
Sox.
And the White Sox, but especially to end the year, which is very advantageous for us. But we need to get
And
Baltimore.
Another team that's around 500, 1 game under Tampa Bay.
That's
a
true,
key series.
and a lot of people were surprised at how they've performed this year. But yeah, so I still think we need to watch out for them a little bit. But Baltimore is the big one. If we can beat Baltimore, and that also tells you maybe we are ready for postseason ball, especially if we can win a series, or maybe we can win both series. Then
I wouldn't say both series.
and you don't know.
At least one. I don't know. But so I think breaking down my final prediction here, we win all 3 against the Rockies. That's pretty realistic because the Rockies, we'll just say it, they suck. 1 out of 3 against Baltimore. I know we need to win 2, at least, but realistically, it's always tough playing at Camden Yards. It has been for the Tigers.
Yeah.
So I think just 1 against Baltimore in this first one out of the 2 series. I think we take 2 out of 3 against Kansas City. And then at Baltimore, I think, again, we take only 1 out of 3 at Baltimore. 2 against Tampa Bay out of 3. And I didn't say all 3 because, again, the Tigers also lost 1. It was close, but they dropped 1 of the A's. So I feel like you got to give them an off game, because it's just going to happen. And then they beat the White Sox to end the year in all 3. So 84 and 78, that's my final record prediction. Anything different, Adam, you would change about that?
It's a realistic number, especially when you talk about that series with the Orioles. I think it's going to be a tough series. I think both teams are going to play hard. Both teams have a lot to play for, so I think it'll be tough. I think some of it, too, has to just do with, can the Twins continue kind of collapsing that we're kind of seeing them? If that continues, we can jump right in front of them, then anything can happen. Then it's at least in our hands, because right now we're still kind of banking on the Twins not performing well to get in.
And if the Twins continue to be on the struggle bus, this first series in this big stretch here to end the year is against a bad team against the Rockies. Like, if the Twins lose the next 2 or 3 games in a row, we win 3 against the Rockies, we're neck and neck, right? We're
for sure
the same record could be as the Twins, or get that last spot as of that day.
Definitely.
So the Tigers, they're no longer officially kind of out of it, kind of not. They're fully in this race.
Yeah.
And when's the last time we were able to say that? 2015, 16?
I think 2015 might have been that time that we had to win to get in. We had to beat Atlanta in 1 of 3 games to get in, and we lost every single game. And it was just the worst. And that was our first time missing the playoffs.
That was and atrocious to watch.
Yeah, it was really bad. So it's been since then. So we're definitely due. And this team has so much heart. They're so much fun to watch. We have the Cy Young on the mound. We got some great players, and it's. I just hope that we can hang out there, man.
And actually, the close game that the Tigers dropped to the A's over the weekend, Skubal was on the mound for that game.
Yeah, that did stink. But
13 innings.
Yep.
They were winning going into the bottom of the 10th by 2 runs, and they ended up losing by 2 or 3. So,
but we took control of the rest of the series, and I'm excited to see how this goes.
I just, I don't think if we would have beat the A's that game, we would have taken all 3, and we would have been able to afford 1 loss to one of these teams upcoming.
True. I just hope we don't look back at that loss.
Say, that 1 loss to the A's.
I hope not. I hope not.
Oh, I hope not either. But quickly here, a bunch of high school sports, getting back to some local content here, but a lot of local high school sports happened over the weekend. A lot of Saturday games. Girls golf, Northwest finished 8th, Lumen 9th at Marshall on Saturday. Napoleon 8th place, Saturday Invitational at Clinton. Concord went 2-0 volleyball Saturday over Blissfield and Sand Creek. Boys cross country, Columbia won the event, and JPEC, Jackson Prep, placed 4th, scoring 88. Hanover Horton won the D3 meet at Bath on Saturday. All these events happened Saturday. For anything else you missed in full stats, JTV.tv, the weekend wrap-up scoreboard is on there. Western finished 3rd in the large school division, as Western and Lumen both went to Lakeview. Girls cross country, Lumen earned the win in the small school division. Girls cross country, Western was 8th. Napoleon won the girls invitational too at Sand Creek. A lot of big winners in cross country. We're really cross country rich in this area, and a lot of great teams. Columbia Northwest tied at 2 in a draw on Saturday in boys soccer. Jackson Christian won the Royal Cup with a 3-0 win and a 6-2 win. Jackson Christian, the only undefeated boys soccer team in the area. They're now 6-0, and Jackson beat Lumen Christi on Saturday 7-1. We have boys soccer highlights from earlier last week, Lumen and Northwest, online at jtv.tv, and you can watch The Locker Room, too, presented by County National Bank for that. Boys tennis, the Vikings won the Invitational at Marshall. College events, men's soccer, both Jackson and Spring Arbor, both our local colleges, got the win. And women's soccer, Spring Arbor 4-1. For all that and more, photo galleries and other sports and non-sports community events, too. We're everywhere. jtv.tv. Real quick here before we go, yesterday the Apple Music halftime show for the Super Bowl was announced. Kendrick Lamar. I like it. That's not a bad pick. He's I don't want to, not that he never really fell off, but a little bit of a mini resurgence again.
I think his last album was controversial, but his last album was one of my favorites. I really liked it. So I'm a big fan of him being halftime.
I saw a comment on Twitter. I won't say the whole thing because we're on TV, but the person said, what if he brings out Drake for poetic justice?
Oh, that's hysterical.
And they settle the beef, and they
Ugh.
and they come out with that. Or what if Kendrick brings out J. Cole, and he just brings out a whole just group of them?
Now, he should bring out J. Cole. I agree with that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Is he going to sing Not Like Us 110 times there? Is he going to sing it more than once? The whole crowd will go nuts, but it'll be a good show.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Who performed last year? Rihanna?
Was it Rihanna last year?
I thought it was the year before.
You're right. That was the year before.
Jack Hart. No, that was the Detroit. That was Thanksgiving. That was terrible, by the way.
It was really bad. It was really bad. I can't think of who the halftime show was last year. Maybe that, and I think that might tell you. That might tell you that like the halftime shows haven't really been amazing recently.
You know, and it's kind of my bias just because I'm 100% a country music fan, but they haven't had a country halftime show since the 90s. The big 90s show where they brought out Garth and Travis Tritt and Winona Judd and Clint Black and the huge 90s names, Shania Twain in 2002 or 3, the year or two before Janet and Justin Timberlake hit
That's
it off
right.
on TV. Literally took
That's
it
right.
off.
I'm telling you, Post Malone would be a good halftime show in the next couple of years.
And that would work now, right into a
Yes, it
country
would.
halftime
Yep,
show.
exactly.
You bring out maybe not everybody, but you bring out some of them on his album. You bring out Morgan Wallen, the
It'd
big
work.
names, and you bring out some legends that he did a song with too. And that whole album was good, by the way.
Very good.
While we're
Very
talking
good
right
album.
here,
Yeah.
so. Anything you missed on today's show, any clips, go to our Facebook, online, jtp.tv. Adam, good to be with you again.
Yep.
Another great show. We'll have picks for Week 3 of football coming up Wednesday, thanks to Pataki Orthodontics, thanks to the Circle Agency. Thanks for watching and listening. I'm David Rice. We'll talk to you Wednesday. Goodbye.